Hi guys, I'm Fentress Fountain and I'm a reporter with WHKY News. This is my second year participating in Career Day at Tuttle Elementary School. So first off, again, thank you for taking the time to hear what I have to say. But as for the first question, which is, do I read off of a screen or do I memorize what I say? Well, that all depends. So when I am in the field, such as right now, I'm outside, I do not have to read off of a screen. It is strictly off of memorization. I have to go off of the press release, and just like I'm talking to you right now, I have to reiterate basically what I have found out in terms of news that I'm reporting. And then after that, when you see everything else that's happening, like say for instance, I'm at an accident scene or I'm outside of a hospital talking in terms of COVID-19, then I'll be reading off of my phone, actually telling you about what I am seeing, and you're looking at what I'm seeing through the camera lens. So let's go ahead and take a look at an example. I'm standing outside of Catawba County Public Health. Yesterday afternoon, Governor Cooper made the announcement that educators and child care providers would be eligible to receive the vaccine on February 24th, and all others in Group 3 would be eligible to receive the COVID-19 vaccine on March 10th. Catawba County Public Health and the vaccination partners Catawba Valley Health System and Fryer Regional Medical Center. So that's classified as out in the field reporting. Now, if I am anchoring at the desk, then yes, I am definitely reading off of a teleprompter because that is a lot of stuff to memorize, obviously. And so what we do is we look into a screen. Not only does it have the teleprompter with all the wording on it, but it also has the camera, so that makes the job pretty seamless, actually. You just look into it. You have to really just know what you're talking about. So it's not just a matter of reading what you see, but it's always better to be prepared. That way, if you see something on the screen, it won't come as a shock like, oh no, what is this? That way, when you're talking, it makes things easier for the viewer to capture. Good evening. Thanks for joining us here on WHKY News. I'm Fentress Fountain, filling in for Ralph Mangum once again. Rob Eastwood will have your crime report coming up in just a few moments, and Jason Savage will have your sports, talking about the Hickory Crawdads and a few other sports headlines in the Hickory metro area. Our top story tonight comes from Rob Eastwood. More charges have been filed against a Caldwell County man. WHKY reporter Rob Eastwood has more details on the arrest of the Caldwell County man on drug and weapon charges. As for the idea of my job being stressful, yes, it can be very stressful at times in terms of deadlines. Deadlines are a really big deal in the news industry. There's always a deadline to meet. And that means, no matter what's going on, no matter how big the story is, or no matter how far it is, I have to make sure that I get the story written, edited, films, all of that has to be done on time, or else it would not get on TV. So I think that's the most stressful part of doing the job, as far as just timing. And also when you have a family, that can make it a little bit, it can add a little bit of stress as well, especially when you have a toddler, because if you guys have any little brothers or sisters, then toddlers are not always the easiest characters to deal with. So that can make getting news out even more of a stressful situation. But for the most part, I do love my job, but it can have its stresses. The stories I report range from community news pieces to someone talking about, what's going on, if they're having a coat drive or something like that. It can range from smaller stories like that, but it can also range to really sad, heartbreaking stories such as car accidents, homicides. Anything that you can think of, anything that you see on television is actually real life for me. I have to deal with that, and it is sad a lot of times when you have to talk to someone who's just lost a family member, or report on a fire that has killed maybe a small child. So it's very difficult, obviously, to talk about things even right now, explaining it to you, but that is what you take on when you become a news reporter. I actually do not get stage fright anymore when I'm on television. I've been doing this for a little over 6 years now. So when I first started, I will say, yes, I wasn't camera shy, but it was something to get used to, seeing myself on the TV screen. But now it's kind of like second nature to me. It just kind of comes with the territory. So no camera shy here now. Electricities of North Carolina has presented 16 North Carolina communities with Excellence in Power Awards. In our area, the town of Maiden and the town of Granite Falls were recognized. My advice, if you would like to be a reporter, is first off, make sure that's really what you want to do and understand the ins and outs of the job, knowing that it is a lot of hard work, making sure that you prepare your assignments. As a reporter, it comes with a lot of responsibility because everybody is counting on you to make sure that the story is accurate. Honesty is a big thing, not always worrying about, hey, I want to get the story out first. It's more so making sure that you tell the story correctly, no matter what it is. because that is your responsibility as a journalist. People are counting on you because you are their voice and you are the face. So it's a big responsibility, and you can't really have off days. Even if you're sad or what's going on, it's best not to let the public know, what's going on, because you are coming into their homes. You're guesting their homes each night. So it's a big responsibility. But if you think that you have what it takes, I definitely encourage you to get in front of your camera, start practicing on your writing. Read a lot. Reading is a big thing when it comes to journalism. And of course, go ahead and be looking at, maybe it's too early right now, but think about what colleges you'd like to attend, because you do have to have a degree in either communications or journalism in order to get a job at most news stations. Back in October, Greenway Public Transportation announced that they would be hosting a community-led effort to change the bus routes. Now, just a few months later, after seeking public input, they now have a presented proposal of the bus routes, and they are seeking another comment by the public before they present it to the board for final approval of those routes. As far as experience, whenever you're in college, it's mainly just a lot of bookwork. The experience doesn't come until you actually get in front of the camera. It's one of those situations where you have to actually go through a hands-on type thing as far as seeing the story, writing it for yourselves in order to really gain experience. It's not something that you can really be taught, because every reporter brings something different. You have to bring your personality to the story depending on what you're talking about, and you have to find a way to relay that message to your viewers in a respectful manner as well. So it's not really something that can be taught. As far as the education aspect, yes, you have to go through that, but you really won't get the gist of reporting until you actually do it. A deadly crash claimed the life of a 26-year-old Catawba County man who was driving a motorcycle. It happened here at the intersection of Mount Olive Church Road and Highway 16 last night. I think the hardest thing about my job is kind of what I just mentioned earlier, is just going to a scene that is not something that you want to see. I'm dealing with the death of someone. Even when you don't know them, it's very hard, and you have to have thick skin when it comes to reporting, or else every day you might cry because you don't know what you're going to walk into. And I'm not going to say every single day is like that, because some days you get to cover really exciting stories. I've done stories to where I've got to go on seaplanes before. I've got to go zip lining. There's all kinds of exciting stories and adventures. You never know what to expect in terms of news. So it's not always bad, but there are those downsides where hey, this is the reality and I have to report it. You could see a line of nearly a dozen cars making their way down Lenore Ryan Boulevard yesterday morning on the way to their first stop of the day, the Lifehouse.
We drove around and we looked, and once you start doing this, you start seeing things and you realize just exactly where our homeless are, and they're much more prevalent than what you think.
From car to car, those in need were able to get not only food, but also hygiene products, socks, reflective vests, and many other necessities, all thanks to what some people call Megan's Army. I think the most exciting thing about my job is getting to help people whenever there is a community story or someone who's like, hey, I had this great idea. Can you help me get it out there? And when you do get it out there, just to hear them say thank you, your message and you're getting this out really helped me expand my idea of what I had. Or just to know that you did a story on someone, and then even a couple of years later, they're like, hey, I remember you. We talked about this, or we talked about that. Or they come up to you in public and they're like, hey, you're the person on such and such television station. And it makes you feel good knowing that you've made an impact. So I think that is the best part of my job, is just being in other people's lives and knowing that I am making kind of a big difference to them. So in closing, I think I've answered all the questions given to me, but if anyone ever has any additional questions or wants to contact me, just feel free. You can email me at fchestnut@whky.com, and I'd be happy to speak with you. And maybe on years down the road, if you guys are still interested in reporting and I'm still at WHKY in Hickory, feel free, and maybe you can get an internship or a job shadowing. That's always the first step in your journalism career. So thank you again, guys, for having me, and have a great day.